my AVX had has had a number of difficulties. There's a lengthy, like a hour and 45-minute YouTube video by a guy named John Denver. That's his name, Jon Denver, and he took his apart, and I'm taking mine apart.
I
So John can do
modified
it.
mine.
Yeah.
I modified mine a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I did.
He says
John's
opinion, and I haven't verified it yet. He says that the grease that they use in the factory is junk and it decomposes after 2 years. And the factory also has a chronic problem with tightening and over tightening, under tightening and over tightening. So we'll see.
I
Keeps
did
me out of trouble. Gives me something to do.
Yeah, I replaced the grease. The other thing that I got through Amazon is I have it's about not quite a 32nd of an inch thick. It's Teflon with a self-adhesive back. And right where the head mounts on the tripod, I have those surfaces with the Teflon on them.
Yeah.
Man, did that smooth it out.
Really?
And then also where the elevation bolts are.
Yeah, hold on, because I'm going to make a note of that.
Okay.
I mean, hold that thought. So what you have a piece of Teflon?
Yeah, what I did is I cut it to the exact shape of the top tripod surface.
Really?
You know where that plug is for alignment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the head now spins freely when you want to, set up for polar alignment and so on. And then on the elevation screws, I put a strip of that same Teflon tape on the inside where the bolts rest up against the mount head.
Okay.
And it smoothed that out considerably as well. So the polar alignment, it's really easy to dial it in.
Yeah. Oh, well, okay.
I did the same thing with my EQ6R Pro as well.
Okay.
Because it was like metal, it was metal on metal contact. So what I did is I eliminated all the metal to metal stuff by putting that Teflon in.
Okay. Start up. Well, I can watch this. I can watch this on YouTube later on, but I'll make a note of that. Thank you very much, William.
Yeah, you're not a problem. Please call me Bill.
That's I'll try anything, as John will tell you.
I dropped the live stream link in the chat.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, by the way, since I've now got, and then I'll surrender it. John knows this already, but I'm a Sharp Cap user, and I downloaded the most recent version of Robin's Plate Solver, and it was absolutely amazing. And as you know, I've had problems ever since I got my C6 doing plate solving through it. The best I could do was go up to Hickory Run, and I'd get it maybe 50% of the time. This thing worked in Narberth. I am 6 miles from Philadelphia City Hall. This thing worked with like 30% moon in Narberth pretty much quickly and pretty much flawlessly. So that opens up a whole new world. You don't have to
install a third-party plate solver.
Right, and you remember, John remembers me out at Hickory Run hanging a lantern off a post so I could align a guide scope with the main scope.
Oh, God.
Because that was how I had to do things.
You make it work, Doug.
But at what cost? And the other thing, that the dessert for that night was I was able to I was imaging M104 from my basement. I set up my equipment in the Narberth at the Narberth Park in the baseball diamond in the outfield. And it seems a little weird just to leave it there, but I realized I wouldn't be doing it unless I did. So and using the library Wi-Fi hotspot and Chrome remote desktop. I was sitting in the comfort of my basement imaging M104.
You got a remote telescope. It's great.
Yeah.
There you go.
I do.
It's 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
I love my remote system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Doug,
But
I've been using
you
that.
couldn't beat, however, you can't beat the library Wi-Fi hotspot on a cost basis.
Right.
On a
it's
cost,
free.
yeah, on a cost per megabit basis. I defy anyone to beat that.
I've had some really good luck, Doug, with that sharp cap plate solving. I don't have
Yeah.
the latest version, but I'm in
Yeah.
like Bordeaux 7, Bordeaux 8 type
Yeah.
of deal. And it's worked very well for me. The
Yeah.
latest version, so maybe be even better. But
Yeah.
I've had a lot of success with it. It's wonderful, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Changes everything.
Yeah.
The problem I have is if I use my smaller camera on my 8-inch SCT, the field of view is too narrow for my ASI Air Pro to do a plate solve. So what I got to do is put the bigger camera on, get everything fuller aligned, and then stick the smaller camera back on.
Oh, jeez.
What folk? Oh, I think a log just fell. Excuse me 1 second.
Okay. Is there anyone else new that we haven't had a chance to meet or would like to say hello?
Yeah, hi, this is Mike Rayfield.
Mike.
I'm new as of a month ago. That gentleman, Tom Nolasco, right there is one of the reasons I'm here. I've been a coworker with him for how many years, Tom, before you retired at
Well,
JV?
I was there for a little over 30, and you were probably there 20 of it or more. So,
Yeah, I've been there for 23 years, and Tom
probably 18 then, yeah.
retired, and then Mr. Vanneman, he's my coworker at the moment, is still at JVT. So lots of exposure. But anyway, Tom has been showing me some of his incredible images that he's been making with his equipment, and that really sparked my interest in the whole astrophotography thing. I'm looking forward to attending Tom's March session coming up. And so everything you're talking about right now is just completely over my head, but got to jump in at some point, and I'm just going to be a fly on the wall and try and absorb what I can. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Nice to meet everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Did I get kicked back to newbie status since I haven't been around for a while?
Yeah, you're back down.
There you go, Scott.
I hope to finally get back on. I mean, I've been moving over the past couple months and finally settled in, so haven't had much time to be involved in taking any pictures or anything.
Did you sell your old house yet?
Yeah, actually, I just sold on Friday.
Oh,
So
congrats.
all clear with that and all that, but like my my back door at my new house is piled high with boxes right now, so I can't get outside.
Yeah, I moved in here 6 years ago, and I'm still unpacking, Scott.
Don't remind me.
Hope your telescope's not in one of those boxes.
No, my telescope actually is sitting on a shelf. I know exactly where it's at. I won't say I can get to it, but I know exactly where it's at. And I created a new shelf, an organized area
I
for
think
all my astronomy stuff.
Joe's
Now I
going to
just
start
get
renting
to
your
it.
scope out pretty soon, I heard.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's the camera everybody wants, not the scope.
Yeah, I know. I'd love to rent that camera.
You can stop by and we'll talk.
We'll see. We'll see. I'll have to trade you my mono cam. I tried imaging LRGB with my Newt. I did my best, but my gosh, it's hard to line up all those diffraction spikes, even when you don't move the thing. I thought it would be hard if you move it, but even on the same night.
I was wondering about that, John. I was thinking that because I was thinking to do multiple nights when you have this spider. I'm thinking, what if you just basically took your sets of data, but I mean, if you process them kind of separately, like if you did like a as far as linear data, kind of combine things, but do star extraction and combine all the images without any stars, so you have no star spikes, and then recombine just one of those nights into it. Did you ever try that?
So the thing I've, at least with StarNet plus plus for removing stars,
Yeah, yeah.
if the diffraction spikes are bigger, they come with the nebula. They
Oh
don't
yeah,
get left out.
if it's a third magnitude star or brighter, you definitely get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
but on some of the dimmer ones, I mean, if the stars around fifth magnitude, you probably get away with it.
yeah. For narrowband,
But
it's not been too bad, but the RGB, I don't know.
yeah.
I'm real curious. I've heard that you can do it if you, the thing to worry about is moving the scope body.
Yeah.
So as long as your mount
Yeah.
is the same level, you can actually rotate the camera and the spikes will stay in the same place. It's
Right.
only if the tube is rotating in the rings or if you have a different level on your mount. So you could probably
Really?
do it with your setup.
Yeah, so it didn't matter if with the camera position.
I saw somebody on
Yeah,
Cloudy
it
Nights where
wouldn't.
they rotated the camera and the rings stay the same, or the spikes, diffraction spikes stay the same.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
they
'cause
would because that's all dealing with the
By the
that's
time
true. Yeah,
after
the
you
optics
align
are
the
all
image,
just that's all done with the tube. Yeah,
it
but
blew my mind, but
yeah, you would it makes sense though. But
yeah,
but
you don't.
you wouldn't want to rotate the camera too much though, or else you get a smaller and smaller
yeah,
field of view where it's not where
yeah,
it
the
all
images wouldn't,
intersects.
yeah,
Now, rotating the camera is going to affect your flats also.
Right. Right.
that's true. Assuming you take flats. But
We don't need no stinking flats.
Wait a minute. You
it
need
finally bit me. It finally
I just
bit me.
take darks. I don't take any flats.
I was like you until I started doing this. I finally got donuts once I was doing longer exposure
Yeah,
LRGB.
I am so anal about dust that I never take a cap off unless the camera's pointing down. And then only for the camera's open no more than 5 seconds, maybe. And I've done pretty well. My one camera I've had over a year and I still don't have any dust motes. The other one just got its first one. But I had the camera for over 2 years now. I guess my first dust mote because I use them for the sun and the planets and stuff too. So it shows up, especially on the sun. If you're doing white light on the sun, if you have a dust,
Yeah.
you're going to show. But because it's such a pain to deal with those flats as comparison, just going out and just running and skip the flats and all that and just go. So I am really, really careful about
Yeah.
dust.
Well, the flats are good for vignetting. I mean, forget the dust modes.
Well, I see. I have very small chip. Remember, Lou? I have these.
Oh yeah,
I
you
got
use a
these,
planetary
11
camera.
millimeter diagonal chips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Graxpert fixes them pretty good, the vignetting, but the dust motes will get you. And if you're new, don't worry about shooting all the extra stuff. Just take darks. You'll figure it out. But
Actually, I found that biases make the biggest difference and are the easiest to take.
yeah, biases are just like the shortest darks.
Yeah,
Essentially.
sometimes, yeah, like in the beginning when I was starting, I wouldn't even use darks because especially in the summertime with my uncooled camera, the temperature would vary so much, the darks would make them worse,
Mm,
But biases really make the biggest difference.
I
Well,
can
with
see
the
that.
294, I have to take darks because of the amp glow that shows up on the side.
I got the same problem. I have a 482 I use, and I'll tell you, the glow on that baby is unbelievable. The gradient is unreal. So if I don't use darks, man, it is. When I use sharp cap just like Doug does, and I subtract the darks as they're stacking. And if I don't do that, I mean, I can't even view. I really can't view the object even as like an EAA type of thing. It's so bad. But if I use the darks, it kind of fixes that up quite a bit.
Very cool. I'll share my my diffraction spikes real quick. But
Please do.
John,
oh yeah,
are you careful with your tripod level? Because that'll affect the orientation of the spikes too, as it's traversing the sky.
I
Excuse me.
was that night. I'll show you. I'm also playing, I'm asking this bot. I got a large language model running locally, a 34B capybara, nose capybara model, but it loves lying to me. I'll tell you more about it later. But so this was the same night I didn't move the tripod, and my goodness, it's these spikes.
Oh, wow.
They go across the whole screen.
That is a biggest spike I've ever seen.
Yeah,
That's a
wow.
big star, but that is
Heart
a
attack is a real big pain.
Yeah.
wow.
Great star.
And for whatever reason too, my scope, on brighter stars, even within one sub, the spikes kind of split on the bottom. So you'll see like two sets of spikes here.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I don't know
have
if it's
some, yeah, I have some minor splitting too, John. I can usually, and really it depends on, because I stopped using a Badenoff mask and I started using the spikes to focus because that seemed pretty good. And,
yeah.
and it's, so I kind of get close with that. But then I always watch that full half wave stuff, where you can, and just to get the smallest stars. And I use that as my final focus thing.
Yeah.
But if I go back and look at bright stars, especially as first magnitude or second magnitude star, I will get a split usually in opposite sides. You see, it was
Yep.
slight split on top, and
Top and
so
bottom is what mine is.
Yeah, if I change the, and I don't know, not sure exactly what that is, but I just don't let it bother me.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. And this
The
weirdness,
size of those spikes, though, is really impressive.
yeah, it was crazy. I'll get them from stars off screen too. It'll look like a trail, and I'll look closely, and it's lined up with all my other spikes, and I'm like, oh, that's
how
just
long-
this.
Yeah, how long is your exposure here, John?
So
Total.
these were 1 minute subs for RGB, and the luminance subs were 30 seconds. So
And what was your total exposure?
this guy, it's like close to 4.5 hours, I think.
Mm.
But anyway, it's interesting. And the reason I realized, Dan pointed this out, Dan McCulley, there's this weird gridding.
Yeah.
It's because I was using wavelets, but I didn't think about it. And like some of this got pulled into the nebula side where I was using the wavelets. So I'm pretty sure those grids are actually wavelets.
Wow.
I need to reprocess this. I don't really know how to do LRGB. So anyway, that's another story, but
Did you do star extraction on this?
I did.
Because sometimes I've seen those grids come from as an artifact of the star
Oh, it could be
process.
that.
So you might want to think about that too. I've tried some various like different processing techniques to because sometimes like an object, even like I was shooting the Eskimo Nebula. And at the beginning of the month, when we had one of these clear nights, it was kind of well positioned, and I was packing up for the night, and I was just going to let the scope run.
Mm-hmm.
And even with something like that, that looks like a bright star.
Oh yeah.
Right, to the software, it can really wreak havoc with those star extraction algorithms, and sometimes it'll cause weird color artifacts or weird pattern artifacts.
Mm-hmm.
Like during the transition from like surrounding nebulosity to the bright object, to the specular object.
I see.
It's
Yeah,
something to think about.
I'll play with this some more. This is an individual, the red stack, auto stretched. And I don't see that funkiness there, but I'll keep an eye out for it. So anyway, I'll stop with this. We can keep going. Stop share. I'm glad to know I'm not the only one with split spikes, though. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, I was wondering where they came from too. I get a weird thing too, but it has to do with my I think my field flattener, my field corrector.
It could be my coma corrector. That's when I first saw
Yeah,
it.
the coma corrector. I have a funny thing now and then, and I had it a lot in the beginning, and it went away. I mean, I always fiddle with it, like you get to go away. What happens is the stars, say especially a bright star, off on one side, it'll kind of like stretch on one side, and I'll see some stars. And I'll go back out and I'll try to recollimate, and I'll try to make sure that the field flattener is real flat and the camera is real flat in there. And I kind of futz with it. A lot of times it goes away, but sometimes I had had it for a long time, and it just happened the other night for the first time again. And I was so disappointed because it's like, oh crap, you know what?
Is it like coma
Because-
in one side? Oh wait, you cut out.
Tom's frozen.
Tom's frozen. Yep. I want to know. I have this problem.
Frozen, are you okay?
He was about ready to say the answer and disappeared. Oh no.
do with the
Oh, you're back,
Oh, there
Tom.
he is.
with
There he is.
Tom, you froze right when you were going to
Oh,
say
did
the
I?
answer.
Yeah, you see, you're like the answer is, and then you
oh, and I
froze.
said some amazing things there too,
Ah.
but I forget what they were.
We figured as much.
Yeah, but the
So, yeah, go ahead.
anyway, well, where did you lose me?
You were starting to explain. You said you just had the problem
Oh yeah, well,
recently.
I had the problem initially. I kind of always would futz around with. I have it almost every night, and I'll go back out and I'd recollimate and I'd readjust all the camera against the field flattener, the coma corrector, shall we
Trying to
say,
get rid
and
of the
then
tilt. Yep.
I'd reseat the coma corrector, and
Yeah.
I would actually screw in the three screws that would tighten the camera to the focuser, a little each way around, so I wouldn't tighten one and get it like cocked or anything,
Yeah.
because I don't have a self-centering focuser, ring, a reduction ring or anything,
Yeah.
or the 1 1/4, and so and it didn't. I had that problem a lot. Then I didn't have it for like months and months. Didn't have a problem with it, and just the other night, it kind of showed up, and I'll show you what I mean. I mean, because it's pretty annoying actually.
I kind of have a similar thing. I'm curious. I want to see. I thought it was collimation, but I've tried a lot of
Well,
stuff.
I think because if I take it out and just go straight in, the edges of the field get kind of wonky, like you would because you got coma. And let me share this
Oh
here.
yeah, let me see if I can. I have to give you share, I think. Hold on.
You've disabled
Make
me.
co-host. There you go.
Okay.
You never know what you're going to show. I gotta.
Yeah.
There
Here
we
you go. This is an example, and you can see the way these stars are all kind of leaning. See this right here?
Oh yeah. Even
Leaning
on that
one
side.
Yeah, they're all kind of like, and it's really annoying.
Yeah.
But it's I'm not
Is-
sure. I'm sure it has to do with the corrector, because it's
Mhm.
never happened before I got the coma corrector. But that's been a year and a half ago or 2 years
Yeah.
ago, whatever. But anyway, but I'm not sure what's different. The coma corrector always stays in the scope. I never take it out because that's all I use it for is the 8-inch.
Mhm.
And I mean, and I think the distance, because you could adjust the distance. It's a turning
Yeah.
thing, it is a batter one. I got that set, and I believe that's all the exact millimeter distance it's supposed to be for the back focus of the camera and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it works fine for a long time, and then it just stops. It starts going south on me, and then I'll just have to fiddle around for a few sessions. But it's really it's disheartening because
Yeah, it stinks.
the whole idea, I love just staying inside. I had to go out there, keep going outside, fiddling around, and come
Yeah.
back in the house and see.
Yeah. My experience so far is I love newts. You get a lot of aperture for the price, but they make you work. That's
Yeah,
my
they're
experience.
a little trickier.
Yeah, compared to my reflector or refractor, it's like even the focus is so touchy. It's like
That's all I have is news.
no, I love it and I'm still using it, but it's challenging.
Builds character, John.
Right? I'm getting more grays, I think. So I'm wearing the hat.
Already?
John, one thing, not saying that you want to do this now, but as far as spikes, people have done curved secondary holders, right, for newts. You can use arced segments to hold it, like 3 arc segments, and that tends to just spread that diffraction
It diffuses
spikes
it,
around.
yeah.
You don't get the real sharp spikes. You just sort of lose a little bit of contrast and
Okay.
throughout the whole image.
Yeah.
That's something that people have done in the amateur telescope making world to try to control spiking on bright stars.
Yeah.
I would use 3 though, John, or at least 2. I'll tell a real quick story. I just had a single arc, going there. It was a 10-inch mirror and a 12-inch tube. It seemed rigid. And I'm going up to Stellafane for this telescope competition. And I never really got it. It's like everything, you let it go to the last minute. Now I'm up there. I'm really doing my first light sort of with this scope. I did some practicing and star testing. It was all pretty good, but I wasn't really paying that close of attention. So here, the night before the competition, I shine a laser down the center. I'm aligning the secondary mirror, so it's right in the center of the primary, and the scope's on one side. I moved to the other side. Noticed that laser has moved about an inch on the mirror. And I'm like, oh my God. And I moved it back and it's dead center. The other way. And I'm thinking, okay, it's 24 hours. I'm not home. This is obviously not going to work. And I kind of thought about it all night. I'm kind of sleeping. I was so discouraged because I'd worked a long time on the telescope. And I started getting ideas of, God, is there any way I can kind of just, jury rig something up there? And a guy who was camping pretty close to me had some spare electrical wire. And I literally wrapped it around the stalk, stretched it out, and electrical taped it to the side of the tube to hold the wires tight to give it some rigidity. And I remember going for the competition, they always said, make sure your alignment is perfect. Make sure your alignment is perfect. When you register, make sure they come around like 6 times and say, your alignment has to be perfect or you're going to lose points. And I'm thinking, this is ridiculous, almost embarrassing, because if they were to see this in the daytime, I kept it covered. At nighttime, I did the cover off till nighttime, because if they saw it, they would go, get out of here, So I did that, and when they're looking, they're kind of grabbing the top of the tube, moving the scope a little bit. I'm thinking, man, they touch that wire, it's going to really screw things up. But went through the whole thing like that. But it's one of those typical things. I mean, you see it up at the Stellafane all the time. All these people doing the last minute things. They're actually up there painting their scopes the day before, stuff like that. It's really kind of funny. But I was one of them, one of those people.
Duct taping your secondary into place.
You have to have, now I actually have a typical spider on there that I bought the swap meet the next day. It was a swap meet. I found one that was a 12-inch for a 12-inch tube, and I put that in. I've been using that since, which works fine for the planets. It's a planetary scope only.
I'll take the diffraction spikes over having to recollimate every time I move it.
Yeah, right. Well, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, if you use one with like three
Yeah,
arcs,
three on solid.
that'll be fine. I mean, what Tom's saying is dead
That's
right.
extreme.
One time with Mike Atwell's 15-inch Dob, we must have spent a year trying to track down this collimation problem when he was moving from one side to the other and moving around, and it was something in that mechanism, at that secondary cage mechanism, because if you put like a big eyepiece in, like
man,
like say like a 22 millimeter Nagler or something, it got worse. But small eyepieces didn't make it go away, but it got worse with heavier things. And it finally wound up being the actual secondary board that the focuser was mounted on.
Yeah.
Was flexing.
Was tilting, yeah.
It was like 3/8 of an inch thick. It had 2 pieces of metal on each side to stiffen it up and all this stuff. And it was so subtle that you couldn't measure it. You couldn't really see it. Yet from an optical standpoint,
yeah, it's a big deal.
It made a huge difference.
Yeah.
We finally put angle iron on the pieces of angle metal. It wasn't made out of iron. Generic
bracket.
Angled brackets to really stiffen it up, top to bottom, like closer to the primary mirror to the outside of the cage, and that finally did the trick after like three or four strips of that on there.
Okay, that's nice. Okay, I got options. I'll just keep shooting narrowband. It's easy.
Yeah, well then you don't. Then you have to worry about it as much. It was nice we had that stretch at the beginning of the month.
You've been busy.
That
My
was just
gosh.
what's that?
You've been busy. You've been putting out some stuff. That's great.
Yeah, I have some more too that I haven't had a chance to post yet, but maybe I'll do that later on. But yeah, it was a good like opportunity to catch photons, and then you catch up on the processing later on.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a good problem, as you said in the
Yeah,
Oh,
I have a
definitely.
lot of data that I still have to get to because the beginning of the month was so clear.
Yeah, we had like 5 nights. I mean, that's when do you get a stretch like that close
Never.
enough to the new moon where where everything's good.
We
I
had such
managed.
a rough patch before then too.
Yeah, it was like nothing for a
Like
month.
there was nothing for
Most of
weeks.
January was shot.
Well, John, you went down to
Mhm.
down to Assateague, so
Yeah, that's my
that's really
first.
a good site to be taking data, taking
That's
images.
my first time at a darker sky. And wow, I was laughing. I have 12 by 50 binos overwork. And I was like, I can see as much with these here as I see in my 8-inch Dob back home, I feel like. It was a while. I could see star clusters, or you can see them, but I could actually resolve a little more. And it's kind of the sky just looks different through the binos. There's like a graininess. It's so dark that you can see some of the fainter stuff. And it's not just like washed out. There's a lot more going on. So actually, I was so excited looking through the binos, I missed my meridian flip. So I had an alarm set on my phone, but I had my phone on a charger in the car, and I was chatting with Dan McCulley, and I learned my lesson. So we heard a thump, and I was like, "Oh
Oh,
crap!" I thought a horse like kicked my telescope or something. Just like wild horses walking around.
yeah.
But I'll show you. Don't mess around with that AM5.
Oh, geez.
Oh,
So
wow.
Yeah, it's got some power, that little
it
motor.
just ripped this USB cable in half, and then it pulled my laptop off, and
Oh no.
it was all in a box with the battery. So the thump, it turned out, was that. And it was weird. I didn't know what was going on because it was dark. And I looked, and Nina was still waiting for confirmation. It did the meridian flip. Everything was fine. Except because the USB cable to the mount cut, Nina was like waiting for the mount to say it finished. And the mount did finish and said it
But that
finished,
was
but
never going to come to
yeah,
Nina
and so it was
because the
just
cable was gone.
so I lost about 20 minutes at Meridian, but I shut it down, started it up. I had extra cable. I just kept going. And
Had an
so
extra cable, man. Good
I
for
had
you.
2 extra cables.
Prepared.
Yeah.
Learn that early on.
My extra cables have extra cables. It's like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, especially if you're driving somewhere.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's easy when you're in your backyard or something, but if you're driving somewhere, extra stuff is key.
Yeah. No, it's the first time I felt comfortable enough to like go because I'm always nervous I'll forget something.
It's a
But I
nice
can
site.
show you.
I like it down there. I think it's a really nice site. And you get that it's pitch dark to the south. I mean, it's just and then over on the east, obviously, because of the ocean. But even down south, there's nothing below it really.
Yeah, it was amazing. The south and east where most of the good stuff is. Because at Green Lane, when you're looking south, so many good emission nebula show up around 40 degrees up. So like in the summer, you have all the stuff in Scorpio, the Trifid and Swan and all that. And then even Orion's fairly low. He only gets up to about 40 degrees. But here, the south is like the cleanest. When you're there and you look north at Assateague, it looks pretty normal. It looks almost like Green Lane to the north. I took the sky measurements and recorded them. And
How's that compared to Cherry Springs, Gary? Since you're at both.
It's not as dark as Cherry Springs. But it's an hour and change closer. And
See, I don't think I don't know if it's that close. I mean, I would think it would be.
it's about 3 hours. When I go down there, when Tracy and I go down, it's like 3 hours and 10 minutes. Cherry Springs is for us is about 4 to 4:15, depending on
Yeah, for me,
how
yeah, it's about
80's
as for me.
doing.
If I stop and eat, it's 4.25. If I stop for 10 minutes, but I used to go to. I mean, I've been camping on Assateague and things like that, and used to go to Ocean City, Maryland a lot, and that was Ocean City, Maryland was like 3.5 hours, I thought. So I don't know how much shorter it would be.
Well, it's
Um,
further. It's a little further.
yeah,
A little
well, I know.
south.
I mean, Aztec, I know is further
Yeah.
south of that because
Yeah, but I think with Ocean City, Maryland, you have to go more inland. I think with
yeah, you get
I think you lose some time there because it's more congested. With
yeah,
that,
that's probably the
you
thing.
really just you drive down to Berlin, Maryland, and you basically make a left and then a right, and then you go over the causeway. Then you go over the bridge. So I don't know. I mean, I'm driving the van down too. I mean, I've gone down in my car, but the last couple times I've taken the van, so I'm not like a speed demon or something.
Yeah. So how low are the horizons in the south?
all the way.
Like, I mean, it's
The
whatever
ocean?
tree happens to be in front of you. So I usually pick a site. I'll usually go down for 2 or 3 days. I'll pick a site that on the kind of like the north side. I do this area. It's called the Bayside. So
Mhm.
it's this piece of land that juts out towards the west from the ocean. And I usually pick a site that's on the north side of wherever the campsite areas are, and then I have really good south. In fact, you can even if you have a
That
site
was,
that doesn't have real big trees with you, even the west, you can image well down probably 30 degrees to the west.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
is this in the state park or the national park
It's
or
a
neither?
national. No, the
National.
state park is just row after row of big camper rigs and stuff like that. This is the national
Okay, the
park.
Yeah,
national
it's
park.
called
Yeah,
National Seashores. I'm
yeah,
happy to give
national
you the
seashore.
lowdown and all the other deets too if you want to know.
John,
And
did you take that picture of the rosette from there?
yeah, as this since I'm talking about the trip, this is an example of what the horizons might look like, if you can see
Pretty
this.
low.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so it was great and some clear skies. Oh yeah, this is my command center.
All right.
I got the -20 sleeping bag,
There
a
you
bag
go.
of snacks and extra clothes, and it's covered in sand. I had to clean my car after the trip. Um, and this was the rig. So this is what Gary's talking about. So I would definitely recommend going in off season because in the
Yeah,
summer
yeah,
there's tons of mosquitoes,
Yeah.
I know.
and you can kind of drive in after 5 p.m. for free. The rangers go home. And if you have a national pass, they take that. Otherwise, it's like 25 bucks for a week pass. And you're supposed to register for these campsites, but in the off season, no one seems to be there. But yeah, I can tell you exactly where this was. And there's a picnic table I was set up on, parked next
Yeah,
to it.
I've camped there years ago when the kids were young. We went down there and we camped there now and again. But it was
Yeah, it's a good spot.
So the weather's different. It got cold, but then at one point it warmed up suddenly to like 40 degrees and everything was getting wet. And the seeing seemed bad, or either that or I dewed up. So I had to call it. But when I went inland, it was still cold. It was still freezing. So it's a different environment than I'm used to.
must have been a little shift in the wind, came off the ocean, warmed up a
Yeah,
bit.
it was weird. There's the collimation. So yeah, I ran my big scope the second night. And yeah, this was the rosette. I got this. This cost me a USB cable, but it was worth it. I did 10-minute subs, which is not even long enough for these filters in this dark sky,
Beautiful.
but it was a lot of fun.
So I have some readings from that trip with the SQM L meter, the narrowband SQM, and they're in the 20.8, 20.84. Lowest one is 20.74 in terms of sky darkness. I have 20, and
Oh
the
yeah,
highest it looks like is 20.86. It looks like.
I got it.
They're all from that trip over 3 nights. So decent dark skies. Cherry Springs, I'm usually in the low 21, 21 and change.
I got it. Oh, that's terrible. I got it to oh, the other one was auto stretch too. Anyway, I got it went to 21 at about 1 or 2 a.m.
Mm.
But you're right. Normally it was like 20.8. It was about the best you could get when you pointed it south, like kind of south.
Yeah, and that's also south. It's not directly at the zenith, right?
Correct. The zenith I got is like upper 20s.
Yeah, so my last trip to Cherry Springs in April, I had 21.46. Which, you know, this is
That's
a
darker.
nonlinear scale, so it's noticeably darker, but and my preference from a sky standpoint, Cherry Springs, just because you have, you know, really good horizons almost everywhere. I mean, except for the east, depending on where you set up in the field. Where Tom, like where you and I typically set up,
Yeah.
that you got the barrier trees that we planted years ago to stop the car lights. They've gotten big, like most trees.
Yeah.
They were just little, like 15 footers when we
I
put
know.
them years ago.
Yeah, definitely if you're going to Assateague, you want to image the southern stuff.
Yeah.
Like even to the north, you couldn't see the Big Dipper part of the time because of the sky glow.
Yeah, and that's, I think, Ocean City, Maryland. I think a lot of that.
Probably. Yeah, it's not that far north, you
No,
know.
it's not that far north, and it's right, you know, it's in the same, it's due north, right? You're along the coast, so it's
Yeah.
right there. But
I was
there's
happy
not much interesting that direction anyway.
I really like this black and white shot, this mono shot,
yeah,
John.
this was
I started thinking maybe because I have the same basic chip, but one's color, one's mono, and I've been shooting
mhm.
a little more color, but I used to always shoot just the black and white, and I'm thinking maybe I'll do some I'll do some mono again for a while because
Yeah,
it looks really
I enjoyed it. I still get my little
Yeah.
splits here, but it's not so bad. These were like 30-second
That's not bad.
monos.
You know, I always liked mono when I first started because I started just using it as electronically assisted astronomy, really. And I would look at something for 10 minutes. I had like a 10-minute rule.
Mhm.
And so I would look at something for about 10 minutes. I'd vary I'd stack it and I would, play with I would stretch it different ways. And basically I would spend about 10 minutes if I was doing a visual look, change eyepieces, different magnification, and I move on to something else, And so I was I was viewing the whole thing, the EAA, like that same thing. So and I like black and white because it's more true to what you see visually. You
Mhm.
always see black and white visually. So but black and white has a really neat. I always like black and white photos and anyway, just regular landscapes and stuff and
Mhm.
night shots and different things.
Yeah, I
That's
think for
fine.
galaxy
Too,
season,
your background on your Zoom,
Yeah, right.
black and white.
Yeah, I like doing those kind of things. Black
Yeah.
and white at night, especially if it's been raining. Kind of ideal.
Yeah.
I agree. For galaxy season, I'll probably shoot luminance and see what I can do. What I'm hoping. But it was great. I was excited. I got a little bit of there's a tidal tail off the Hamburger galaxy there.
Oh, you did, yeah.
And I swear there's at least like 3 pixels that are part of it. I can see them.
I saw two, John. I didn't really see the third pixel. I don't know. I'll have to look back and
Missed
look
that
at
third one.
It didn't have much exposure because that's when it warmed up and I had to get out of there, everything. So it was a great trip. I learned a lot. And my gosh, Dan McCauley he's a beast. He just shoots 2 cameras. He sits up. He slept more than me and collected more data than me. He's a pro. He's been at this for over 20 years, but I learned a lot.
Yeah, his stuff is nice. He said he typically goes out west even for like part of the year to do some imaging.
Mm-hmm. Definitely looks good. So
Cool.
But yeah, I went out 3 nights in 4 days. So I actually went to Green Lane the day after I came back and got the monkey head. But yeah, I was beat. I haven't done much since then. Who else has been up to stuff? Anybody else?
Stan's been taking some nice shots. He was he started, it sounded like in the EAA world, but now he's taking some real serious astrophotography with some long
Stan's doing a lot with
exposures.
that. camera.
Stan's going over the dark side.
That's
Ty.
his dark
I
side.
have-
He needs
I've-
dark side.
I've
You'll have to
fallen
be
in the
Stan.
hole and can't get up.
Do you want to share anything, Stan?
Yeah, sure.
I can make you.
I'll kind of walk you through what I did recently. I didn't get to I was in North Carolina for when you guys let's see. There we go. Can you see my
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
February.
Yeah, so
very nice.
this was my first shot of the Orion Nebula. Well, I shouldn't say that, but this is the first one where I actually collected. I let it run for several hours, and then I got to do a little bit of I did a little. I like to think I got a little bit better with the post processing. With you, I've been using Affinity Photo 2 because it'll stack. It allows me to both stack and then edit the photos non-destructively. So and I'm amazed at how much time you can spend watching YouTube videos and playing with the picture on the back end. But I was pretty pleased. I really felt like
Nice
the
shot.
cold weather helped. I missed out of the great week you guys had, and I got back a week later, and I thought, well, you know what, I'm just going to wheel my stuff out. And for whatever reason, I was expecting to be really rusty with using all my stuff. I was kind of thinking, well, I'm going to have to relearn everything, and it turned out that I didn't have to do that, and it actually went pretty well, I thought. And so this one, let's see, I think I took this one on the 8th, and then I decided to shoot it again on the 14th, and I was able to get a lot more data with this one, and I did a little bit more processing with it, and I'm doing this with the TeleVue 85, and it was funny. I think before I started shooting this one, I thought, I bought the Astronomic CLS CCD filter, which is supposedly a pretty good light pollution filter, because I'm doing this from the driveway here in Collegeville, and the light pollution here is just really gotten pretty bad over I think it's gotten worse over the last year with all the growth and development we have here. And I thought, well, I should use that filter. Well, it turns out I was using it on this filter. I was using it on this day, so it was already in the tube, and I didn't realize I'd left it in. So I just kept it there. And then I tried the horse head. This is my first horse head. I'd never done that one before, and funny little story on this one. Usually my process is to go out, get I roll the telescope out to my driveway, line it up on the North Star, then I usually do a focus, then autofocus routine, and then I do a plate align. Well, as I was walking back in the house after I started imaging, and the beginning of this was before it hadn't reached the meridian yet. So I was able to collect about an hour worth of data before I did the meridian flip. And it occurred to me as I'm walking in the house, I'm like, yeah, knucklehead, you didn't do a plate align. It's probably not going to work real well. And I just had it go straight to the target. And I'm sitting there watching the images come in on my iPad, and I'm thinking, I don't think I want to mess with that right now.
Yeah, really.
I'm just going to let that run.
That's a
So
nice
there you go.
composition there.
Yeah.
I think that was smart. Yeah.
That's a good call.
I think I got stupid lucky, but I'd rather be lucky than good any day of the week.
Oh, it looks great.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, it's very
amazing.
nice.
So
What camera are you using on that?
I'm using the ASI. It's the 585 MC camera. It's a one-shot color camera. It's primarily a planetary lunar solar imager, but I think it does a pretty decent job. Like I said, the cold weather seems to really help.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll help with the noise. It'll keep the noise down.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's one of those 0 amp glow models too.
A difference.
It is 0 amp glow. Yeah, it's the successor to the 485.
The
It
Starvis.
has a fairly good sized chip.
And you
decent.
you do lose a lot when when you go to the zero the zero gain. It's not the
Yeah.
zero gain. It's when you go to you set the gain about 252. That's when you go to it
High
really
conversion
drops
gain. Yeah.
the dark
The
current.
unity gain point.
Unity gain
Yeah.
point. That's what I was looking for. Thank
Yeah,
you.
unity.
And once but you really lose a lot of well capability. And
Yep.
so these are 30-second subs is typically what I've been shooting. That seems to be I haven't played with it a whole lot, but my experience has been that the 30-second sub seems to work the best with the light pollution and everything else I got going on.
That's good to know. Yeah, so you don't saturate things.
Yeah.
For this object, I mean, it's so bright. It's
Mhm.
probably works in your benefit. It's amazing how much detail you got with the
Mhm.
with the dust lanes and all that
Trapezium there.
flux that's in there.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was hoping to be able to get a little more detail out of the trapezium area, but and I really do appreciate the very positive comments I got from many of you on it's very hard. It doesn't have the dynamic range of your eye by any stretch, and although I can never see anything like this visually. I mean, I can see the trapezium and just basically a little bit of the brightest glow right through here, and that's about all I get from my driveway now. I did image. I've never imaged over 2 nights, and so I don't leave my scope out overnight. And I thought, well, this will be interesting to see if I can image the next night and have it all, be able to stack my images over 2 nights. I've never done that before. And my this was the result. I kind of had to crop it in because my framing was a little bit different. And I shot this over the last 2 nights. So the moon was just really blowing it out. I really didn't think I would get any quality data. I was actually kind of surprised with how that image right there came out. I did not expect that.
That's nice, and that's even with the moon up. You're saying?
Yeah, the moon was literally.
These new cameras are absolutely amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, the moon's right there too. It's right near Orion. I mean,
it was in Gemini, probably. Right? Yeah.
So yeah, it was
not far.
It was shockingly close, and I thought, and when I thought, well, this probably isn't going to work, and then I started seeing the stack that I use the ASI Air app, and I came back inside the house and just watched it on the iPad, and I told Betsy, I said, I'll be damned. Look at that. It's just that's just impossible.
That's great.
It's
and
amazing.
It works. This is with that CLS filter.
It is, yeah. So I was curious. I looked at the IDAS filter that you have. It looks to me like you get a few more light transmission bands than what I get on this. I think this has got like passes.
Yeah, it might be similar. That particular one that I have, that P2 version, they don't make anymore. They have one that's a little I think a little wider band in the like the H alpha region.
Okay.
And I just bought a different filter. This is for my other scope, for my wide field, because I got tired of changing them back and forth, and I wanted to image them both like with white light, like broadband kind of stuff at the same time. And I wound up going with the Optolong. It's called the L Quad,
Okay.
and it's a similar curve to the or plot to the IDAS LPS filter, but it extends it more in the blue and extends it more in the red region, while still having the IR cutoff in it.
Uh-huh.
I've only done one night imaging with it, and the conditions weren't very good. I did it more as a test,
Yeah.
just to just to make sure I wasn't going to get ghosting or some weird stuff that I wouldn't like or wasn't expecting. And it seemed to perform well, but the conditions just weren't good that night. It was kind of hazy and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was what I experienced last night. I just felt that it was a little hazy, and I was it wasn't towards the end. I was getting the high clouds are starting to roll in and kind of blew me out a little bit, and that's why I think it looks a little muted and muddy. But I was impressed because I mean this Affinity Photo 2, when the images were slightly off and it's got a star align function, and I thought, well, this is going to take time like the stacking did, and I was shocked. It just snapped it together almost immediately. I wasn't expecting it. The result came out, like I said, this was mostly just a test to see if I could actually do that, and it looks like I can. But I'll tell you the pictures that have really got me going, and Tom, that's your pictures of the sun. I have had zero luck trying to do that, but I will say this: I did experiment with the moon last night with my ASI 580.
Oh, nice.
And I thought this came out pretty good. This was a video stack. This is a 30-second video stack, and I think I was averaging around 75 frames a second, and this is a stack of about 50% of the best ones. And I'm seeing detail and sharpness in the features of the moon that I haven't, it looks
another rabbit hole, Stan.
yeah, it's how I feel. Yeah, that's exactly it.
It's a fast camera. That's good. Yeah.
It's a good rabbit hole.
Yeah. It is a good rabbit hole. It's my favorite rabbit hole, actually.
It moves around a lot.
It's for me, as a retired engineer, it's just the perfect blend for me of the artistic but the technical, and the two, especially the technical challenges of it, and just what you're doing. It's just I'm thoroughly enjoying this. Much more.
Nice work.
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, really nice.
It's awesome. You're getting out there.
And all from the driveway too. I'm slowly getting my stuff kind of set up to where I can actually start to travel to a darker site in the near future. So I'm kind of looking forward to trying in my hand there. I gotta buy some more cables, John.
Yeah, that's right.
Need them.
Yeah.
It's impressive. It's impressive what you can do in, relatively light polluted areas. It's these cameras, I don't know, it seems like compared to, like starting with film and then even using my DSLR for many years, for 10 years or 15 years. It seems like these new cameras are magic. They just,
yeah, the chips are amazing.
The chips are amazing. I think they're just such low noise now that you get all, like, even if it's light polluted and stuff, you're still getting good photons, like data photons that are usable.
Yeah, you can stretch them to crazy levels.
Yeah.
And there's not that much noise in the background, so you can
Low
still
read
pull
noise.
the small amount of difference between the signal and the noise is still enough. I mean, because it's enough. The chips are just incredible.
I was surprised. I took like 40 minutes of the witch head the other night just to test that filter. When I was looking at the subs, you couldn't see anything. I mean, the witch head is really faint, right? It's a really faint object.
Yeah.
It's low in the sky. And the only time I could
Being
only
spread
get about
out.
a half hour, 40 minutes, because it had to go between two trees. There's a little gap. If I put my rig on like my front walkway into the house. So, but I was curious, just what can it do, you know? And I was surprised. I was taking 2-minute subs, or no, 3-minute subs. So I had like 15 or 12 3-minute subs, not a lot. And I tell you, I was amazed. And now it's not a good image or anything like that, but you could see it in there. It was able to pull that out on like not a great night. It was hazy. There were some clouds floating around, some clouds going through the field, you know, and this hazy stuff. And it's like magic. I don't know. They just seem like they're magic to me now.
I agree with that. In fact, when I went out and on the last stack of the Orion Nebula I showed you, I walked out and I grabbed my light meter and I thought, well, you know, they never say you're never supposed to take a reading when the moon's up, but I'm just curious. And, you know, the thing was like in the high 14s, low 15s, depending upon where I pointed it. And it didn't matter really. It varied a little bit in each direction. And I thought, well, you know, technically I feel like I shouldn't be getting anything. And yet I'm sitting there watching, you know, like as you said, the first few stacks were the first few images that came rolling in. It's like not, you know, they're not great, but it's like, but I can see it. And when I did before I started taking pictures last time, I thought, well, you know what, I've got it all lined up. I just want to see what it looks like optically. So I took out the imaging train, put in the optical train, and I was blown away by, you know, I could only see the 4 stars of the trapezium and a little bit of the glow around the brightest part of the nebula. And I thought, that's just I have a hard time getting my head around the fact it just doesn't make sense to me that it can
It blows your mind, doesn't it?
that it can
It does.
penetrate that and
Yeah.
get the other stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of defying physics anymore. There's certain things in life that sort of like some basketball players. I can remember as a kid going down to the Spectrum and these people, you know, like Dr. J would be playing and it would like defy physics. You know, there were laws of like angular momentum being broken by what he was doing, yet he's doing it. And that's what these new cameras are. They're kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
Steve, what do you have? What have you been up to? Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Already you say uh-oh. I've had a few clear nights up here. And I've spent most of that time trying to get a new StellarMate Pro controller up and working. But I do have a couple of images. You mentioned and I was on the Eskimo the other night. And let me share, I guess. Share.
I just gave you permission, so
Oh, thank you.
be bottom middle. You got
What'd I do? Oh, am I good?
You're there.
Yeah, you got your desktop.
It's a messy desktop.
Just like mine.
So just for perspective, in my field of view, this is the Eskimo down here.
That's with the C6.
The little green dot. So that's what I'm trying to look at. And
That's with the C6
yes, the C6, right?
and the 533.
With the 533. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, it's a tiny little thing.
So cropped in
Some detail.
and processed a little bit.
Yeah, very nice.
I was able to get some detail out of
Yeah.
it.
That's great.
I was happy with that. Really happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be.
Are you? Is your reducer on, or did you take it off
Yes.
for this? It is.
The reducer's
Wow.
on.
It's such
Yeah, I
a-
don't play with that stuff. I leave it.
Yeah, so that's What's that give you? About a 40-inch focal length, probably. What's a 6.3, Steve?
Yeah,
That's
6.3.
6.3.
The 6.3, right? So that's it's over 1,000. It's supposed to be like 945, but ASI Air.
Yeah, they're not natively F10s. I think they're more like F11s, the C6.
Yeah, this is more like F7 with that reducer on it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So where it's at is in Gemini on Pollux. Pollux, is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
Right
yeah.
forearm. And I just thought I'd give a little history here.
Yeah, it's great.
There you go.
It's a planetary nebula, magnitude 9.6. Size is 48 by approximately 45 arc seconds.
Oh,
Size of Jupiter.
Cool.
And it's
wow.
Small.
about 4,000 light years away. So the trusty C6 with the Skywatcher and the 533, ASI Air, and a UHC filter. 3-minute subs, 80 of them for 4 hours. This is out of Wikipedia. The Eskimo Nebula, also known as the Clownface Nebula or Lion Nebula or Caldwell 39, is a bipolar double shell planetary nebula. I don't know what double shell means.
2 shells.
It has outer ring.
Yeah, 2 shells.
Like the outer ring.
Double means 2, Steve.
Thank you. Seen by Herschel in 1887, and supposedly when he was looking at it, he observed a face and a parka, and it reminded him, of an Eskimo.
He was a ridiculously good observer.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, in order to
Man.
see, yeah.
Now, another interesting thing is NASA has stopped using the Eskimo
Yeah.
and the clown face in all of their documentation.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot of places. They've gotten rid of the Eskimo.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Gotta be politically correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Nice.
one more.
You have good guiding for doing 3-minute subs on such a small object. That's impressive.
I did lose some subs out of that, though. It's,
That's challenging.
I'm happy with what I'm getting.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah.
I keep
So-
having planes fly by.
That's
and,
nice.
Plain.
This is Hubble's nebula. Hubble, not the telescope, Hubble the man. And this is pretty small too.
That's cool.
Oh,
I don't think I've ever seen that.
I
Yeah.
was looking for things that I hadn't shot before,
Mhm.
and came across these small nebula, and I didn't even know whether I was going to be able to do it with the C6. So it's up on, what's this guy's name?
Monoceros?
Monoceros. It's up on his forehead.
Hmm.
That's neat. I've toyed with shooting that because it's well positioned with my trees.
Yeah.
It's pretty high up.
Because it's up not quite as high as the rosette, but it's
Yeah, it's like
up there.
55 degrees, it looks like.
Yeah,
Latitude.
it was pretty high.
Or actually altitude.
It's above the
rather.
rosette.
It's higher than the rosette.
Wow.
Yeah, Rosette
yeah,
you see
yeah.
is
Rosette's like right into the guy's nostrils.
Yeah.
about 3 degrees higher.
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
Is that a reflection nebula? It's
This is
kinda
a
blue.
variable reflection nebula.
Oh, what's that
And
mean?
you're going to see in a minute what that looks like. It's a magnitude 9. The size is 2 by 1 arc minutes
Yeah, tiny.
and 2,600 light years.
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right.
Again, the C6, the Skywatcher, the 533, but this is the first time with the StellarMate Pro.
Oh, so you got it up and running.
I got it up and running with no
No
guiding. I was still struggling with the guiding. So, Tom, this was done with 20-second subs.
Yeah, it's more.
And
I never do
John,
any guiding.
Back in the EAA club.
Yeah. Oh, right. That's what I'm talking
292
about.
20-second subs for only 97 minutes. It took WB, I guess that's PP, 6 hours to process.
What?
Oh, wow.
Because these are like 18 meg files.
Yeah, it's a lot of subs.
You have 292 18 meg files.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's insane.
You almost beat my record. That's
You
amazing.
know, Steve, you can help speed that up a little bit by adding some more temp directories
Oh
on
gosh.
Pix Insight.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I can show you how to do it if you after you're done.
Yeah. I mean, I don't normally do 20 seconds with
Yeah.
300 subs, but so another interesting thing about this is there's a GIF, a time lapse of this that was taken over 6 months from the big amateur telescope,
Oh, the bat.
the BAT,
I've seen that
which is
website.
made up of hundreds of small amateur scopes, which is the first time I ever even heard of that. And here it is here
Oh,
over
variable.
a
Look at that.
6-month
Oh, wow.
time period.
Oh,
which
That
is
is
pretty
really
cool.
That truly is variable.
So, Tom,
That's
if
amazing.
you want to make a GIF,
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
New project.
It's like a
That's
few
pretty
years.
cool.
It's definitely a project.
Yeah,
Oh
and
my
that's
God.
over the course of a year. That's a lot of flicker.
That is.
Oh,
oh, that was really cool.
That is really
It's
cool.
cool.
That was a neat find. Wow.
How
I
did you
like that
find
gift.
it?
So, and by the way, I did get the guiding straightened out for the StellarMate. So I imaged, I haven't processed it yet. I imaged a Galaxy last night, and we'll see how that goes. But I had the whole StellarMate working for that.
How did that go? Was it fairly, I mean, aside from normal, normal stuff that comes up, was it fairly pain-free?
Was it pain-free?
Well, no, not totally pain. I mean, nothing's pain-free in this hobby. This is a hobby specifically for masochists. So, but I mean, relatively speaking.
Because there are so many, the reason I got it is to do some things outside of the ASAR air environment and to use other equipment, not just ZWO stuff. But there are the guiding and a lot of the other processes were, I mean, they just worked quicker than the ASI Air. That's number one. But there are a lot of different variables that you can set. So I don't know yet what all that is. And the reason I had a guiding problem was it turned out that my 290, my guiding scope, I can't believe it's bad because I was just using it with the ASI Air, but this environment had some kind of a problem with it. And so I put the 120 on and the guiding started working. So it's been a very steep hill. I've spent a week with it. I mean, every day. And I don't have, I've got enough of it enough of it. I'm not going to call it mastered. There's got to be another word for it. I know enough about it to get that image with guiding, and there's a lot to learn yet. So
Okay.
it's just there's a lot more to it, and it's going to be a lot more flexible for doing many different things.
Yeah, I've toyed with doing that. I have an old Raspberry Pi that I was going to because you can buy just the software from them, right, for like $50 or something.
Yeah.
And I was going to do that for the same reason to kind of, because I have some equipment that's not ZWO. And I also have another rig, like my tracker rig, that I want to do wide field. That would be nice to have, you know, to have a little more of a turnkey session rather than right now. I just use like one of those handheld intervalometers, and then I just, you know, stack it from there and everything. But it'd be nice to have a little more control over it.
So what I like is it's got right on the box. I mean, it's got the power connections for all the dew heaters and the mounts, the power for the pro version cameras, and many more than you need. USB 2 and 3 ports, and it's all in one. You know, it's just all right there.
Looks nice.
Is StellarMate just software, or it's like a package, a hardware package?
I think it's both. Right?
Well, this you can buy it two ways. This is the box with the software in it. But as Gary was saying, you can buy the software and put it in your own environment.
Okay.
But then you have to create your own ports and whatever you need for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's all I got.
Very nice.
Impressive.
Thank you.
If you want to, Steve, if you want to speed up your PixInsight a little bit, you can increase the amount of temp folders you have.
Wait a minute.
And I would suggest everybody
What
does.
did you just say?
You can increase the temp folders. So
Oh, okay.
what you would do is you would open up PixInsight and go to edit, and then global preferences, and then directories and network. And there'll be one folder in there that'll say C users, your name, whatever, app data, local temp. Well, if you have another drive that's just as fast as the one you're using, you can create another folder, just copy that information to another directory, and then duplicate it a couple of times. And I have six temp directories, and the way I came up with that number is once you put a bunch in, and then you go up under processes, and then under script, so not processes, you hit the second number, the second option there, which says benchmark. You run the benchmark 3 times, and you write down the fastest time set. Then you go back, add or subtract a directory, and run the benchmark again. And then you run it 3 times, and you can keep doing this until you find the sweet spot of how many directories you need to have. You can put them all on one drive if you only have one drive. If you have 2 drives, it's probably faster. If you want, you can make a RAM drive. If you have an
so what kind of a CPU do you need to drive all that?
Well, whatever CPU you're using, it'll use it more efficiently.
Okay.
I mean, how many cores do you have on your CPU?
8.
8, yeah. All right. So then now it'll send several iterations. You don't want to send, I have, I think, 8 on my CPU, but I don't have 8 directories because it needs more than one to run the process, right?
Yeah.
So then, while the other cores aren't idling, it'll go and use the other temp files, and you can dramatically increase the speed of your computer that way.
Great. I'm going to try it.
The other thing to do is, if you're on PixInsight, the fewer things you have open at once, the faster it goes. If you have, it has several different windows.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to save stuff and close it, especially when I'm running deconvolution or or a process that takes a long time, that'll help speed things up. But yeah, you're right. I would run into a similar problem with WBPP. That's probably uses the most resources of almost anything that you're going to use in PixInsight.
Yeah.
The RC Astro Blur Exterminator uses a lot too, but you can speed it up that way.
It's good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
Lou, I got a quick question. How much RAM are you or is in your computer when you're using PixInsight?
Right now,
Yeah.
I just upgraded. I have 128 gigs now. I had 64, but RAM right now is very cheap. I have because they just switched from the DDR4 to DDR5, so I have all DDR4, the old RAM. So it's all real cheap. And what really helped is I have the Samsung 980 or 990 Pro hard drive.
NVMe.
The NVMe plugs right into. I have two of them.
That helps a lot.
Yeah, it's the 990 transfers data at like 8 gigabytes a second, which is ridiculously fast.
That's what I put in my new PC.
Yeah, and right now I can't believe that you can buy a 4 terabyte drive for like $300. But be careful with NVMe drives. Make sure you buy from a reputable source and a Samsung. Don't buy a no-name brand or those Chinese drives. A lot of times they trick the computer into thinking they're NVMe drives when they're really micro SD cards. They just relabel them, and if the price is too good to be true, it
Usually
probably is.
He wants to meet at Micro Center before Friday's meeting.
There you go.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
some
right.
shopping.
You can't lose at Micro Center.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah. But yeah, I would go with a trusted name like Samsung, but the Sabrent has been really popular lately, but they stink. The customer service sucks. Both drives that I bought from them died within a year and a half. And even if they were to replace the drives, and I'm reading all the reviews, and so many people were complaining that they would get the runaround, that they couldn't create an RMA, or they would create one and they wouldn't recognize the number. Only one person said they replaced the drive. But if it's going to fail, would you want to put your data on it anyway? I mean, no, I don't want a replacement drive. Unless you're using it for temp, if it's only for your temp files, all right, it fails, it fails. But you don't want to be out $200.
Not for yeah.
Or whatever they cost.
So we have about half an hour left, guys. I don't know if anyone else wants to present some things. I don't know if Tom's got some stuff, or I don't even do a lot of solar lately. And I do have two random topics that aren't important.
I've been fooling around with solar because it's in the daytime, which is nice. And it was cloudy a lot of those nights, and that kind of got me rethinking back in January. At least the sun was out occasionally. Not even then, it wasn't too often. But and I've been doing little side solar stuff with the Plymouth Whitemarsh school. Their high school over there. They hooked up with a physics teacher, and I go over and either show them the sun in hydrogen or white light or something. They have some gear. They have a broken Coronado scope right now that's for repair. But so that got me back into the solar mode more. Was working with the kids and everything. And so I've been fooling with that. And I mean, fooling with the processing. I'm still hoping to put a gift together from the 14th, but I'm not sure. I didn't I didn't photograph with the idea of doing a GIF. I only had like a 45-minute period, and I was moving the camera around, but I did get a couple. I might be able to scrounge a GIF out of it. It might be kind of choppy, but but I'm not sure what let me see here. I go back and forth on this. I mean, I take a certain creative license here when I do some of this stuff. Like, let me see, I'll share this maybe if I can. Like this shot. This is a
Wow.
This is more of a this is fairly normal. I mean, the prominences are all as they would typically be. The sun is basically inverted. But this is the inverted sun has really grown on me. Because of the 3D and the filaments show up so much better.
Yeah.
And after I've switched over, I used to do everything with Registax and then I'm sorry, with AutoStacker, then Registax. And then I might go into Photoshop just to make it yellow or orange or something. But if I inverted the image there, of course, the sky turns bright and the prominences turn dark. But I saw these images these guys are posting, and it's an inverted sun, but the prominences are normal. And I realized you can do that with IMPPG very easily. So I've kind of switched my flow, and you can actually do batching with IMPPG. I haven't done it with the GIF. I haven't had the time, but next time I'm trying to make a GIF where I go over like an hour or two and take a picture every 2 minutes of a prominence in the sun and stuff. I'm going to do it because with Registax, with AutoStacker, you can batch a whole mess of files all at one time. So you can set them up, you can put them all in, and just walk away, have your lunch, come back, everything's stacked. And then with IMPPG, you can do a similar thing. You get one the way you like it, and just batch the whole bunch. And so you can walk away and have a cup of coffee, and in 20 minutes the whole thing's done. And now you have a sharpened, stacked image without really spending much time, not going through Registrax each frame and duplicating the exact process over and over. Not that it's that long. It's just can be annoying when you're doing the GIF if you got like 60 frames or something. But this is all through IMPPG. And actually, what I found, which is really weird, I changed cameras. I had a 174, an ASI 174, which is kind of like the hallmark of solar photographers. I mean, it's the one it's a great camera. I love the camera. And that's the camera I use for my my EAA stuff a lot and some other photography. It's pretty good. But the pixel size is 5.9 microns. And so I went out and got a camera. I've used the 462 MC, the color camera I had for a year and a half, 2 years now, that I use for the planets. Well, they came out with a mono version of that camera. So I went and I bought that, and the pixel size is exactly half. So it's like using a 2x bar, like having a Barlow in without magnifying the atmosphere by a factor of 2. And I just started using that, and I'm pretty happy with it. And if I throw a Barlow in, like this picture here, now it's the equivalent, like my solar scope is a 500 millimeter focal length. Well, with a Barlow, that gives me 1,000. But if I go to this camera, it's like 2,000 as comparison to the 174. So it really, you can really get in there. And I have, let me see here. Let me stop this. But I had let me see if I can find where I was here. Yeah, this is a more conventional shot, what I would typically do, always do. There's a shot like this. This is a straight up shot. It's AutoStacker and Registack, and a little bit of color with Photoshop. And but what I used to do, I used to take. Now these are always 2 images. You can put your chip, or even a small chip like a 174. You can get the whole sun in, But if you do that, you lose the detail. If you zoom in, you lose everything. Here, you zoom in, you still can see more. There's still some more to see here, and stuff without getting too crazy. You can get more detail without that. So what I do is I was using a Barlow, a 2x Barlow on my Lunt 60 millimeter, and just merging the two images and then colorizing. And this is the way it would look visually through the scope, and it wouldn't be inverted, of course. But you see the filaments, they have a little bit. Some of the ones on the right there have a little bit of 3D, but not nearly what you get when you invert it. And so I'm kind of going to that dark side. I've been kind of a purist about this, about trying to keep it, like it really looks. But then I decided, why not have some fun and just go kind of nuts. So that's when I got into this. Which now the inspiration for this is from Alan Friedman, which everybody you might or may not know him, but he has a book called Averted Imagination versus Averted Vision, and I got the idea from him. Let me bring it up here. I saw he did pictures like this, and so I figured, well, I can do that. So you do things like this, which is kind of fun, because you can keep this. So you have some of the richness of the color with a complementary type background, and you can mix and match your colors as you want. I wanted to keep the prominence for the same color, but I'm pretty happy because the seeing on these days, the seeing on this day was actually fair. The sun, usually, if you look at the sun around here, seeing is never great, but seeing the sun, usually it's below average. It's really boiling like crazy. And it was boiling a bit this day too, but there was those brief moments. Some days it just boils and just keeps boiling. You never get the quiet. But this had some quiet periods, so you can get with that new camera, the 462 mm, small chip. It's only the diagonal is probably not more than 6 or 7 millimeters across. It's great for planetary work, but it's working pretty well. I'm getting I kind of like it. But one thing I was going to say, what I noticed is when I use that new camera, the 462, and when I used it on the sun in particular, it came out, is when I use with Registacks, when I use wavelets, the Bayer pattern underneath comes up really easy. If I do any sharpening at all of a sudden I got vertical lines, series of vertical lines right away, almost minimal sharpening. And if I use but that's using the wavelets. When you use IMPPG, it uses that Richardson-Lucy deconvolution, which the algorithm is different, and it doesn't seem to pull up the Bayer like that, and you can still sharpen the image. So it's another reason I kind of switched over to that IMPPG. But anyway, it's kind of a work in progress. But
very nice.
I've been doing some of that stuff.
That's fun.
What time of the day do you do your imaging of the sun? Because don't they mostly say to try to do that in the first thing in the morning?
Yeah, that's what they say, and I would probably. But problem is, I have a pier. I put a pier in my backyard, but that's west of the house, which is in the east. So the sun doesn't even hit the mount. At this time of year, it's gotten much better. It hits the mount at about 10 past 9. But at that moment, at 10 past 9, of course, it's directly over the roof of my house, which in the winter is not a particularly great thing. So I usually start by about 10:30 in the morning. So the sun rises, 6:30 or so now. So, it's 4 hours or so into the morning before I start imaging. And I have a window in the winter. I have until up between now and March, about 15th. I have to call it quits at about 12:30 and I got a small window after that, but I begin to hit tree branches and stuff like that. So I'm doing it primarily in that like 10:30 to like 12:30 window. So, but they say it's better in the morning, and it makes sense. But I just can't do it with the east of my house being there.
Thanks.
Hey, Gary, do you have anything?
I do, yeah.
Pretty busy.
I've been doing more in that Heart of the Object series. Like I did that the Heart of the Heart nebula that I showed last time, and this time I did the Heart of the Soul Nebula and also the Heart of the Rosette, plus a few other things. So let me let's see, screen share. I'm going to share.
This is using your C9, Gary?
Let me make sure you got it.
This is with
No, you
this
have it.
9. Yeah, I'm going to share this folder. Should do it.
Heart of the Spider.
Yeah, so the Spider is one of them also. I had shot that wide field, and is that coming up?
Yeah.
Yeah, we see your
folder.
Your folder.
folder here.
Oh, it's not showing the image. Okay, so
It's sharing just the folder, yeah.
yeah, why doesn't it? So if I double click something in that and it
We don't
opens,
see that.
it doesn't see that. Okay,
It's
so let
on
me
the other one.
let me
To a
stop.
different screen.
I was able to do it last time. No, it's on the
Share
same.
the whole desktop, I think.
Yeah, I'll do the
That's the
desktop.
trick. It's kind of a pain, but
Yeah. So I'll do just screen 1. Yeah, that's fine. The desktop's fine. There we go.
yeah, there you go. Yeah,
There
we
you
see
go.
it.
There you
And
go.
now I got to get this stuff out of the way, though. Let me get this toolbar out of the way. Put the toolbar there. Okay. So this is the Spider Nebula. This is IC 417, and that's part of a larger complex.
An Auriga?
1 second. Hold on. Let me get to my other. Hold on 1 second.
I say Origa.
Origa.
No, I don't know.
I usually say Origa
In
too.
You
potato?
say Origa.
Origa is.
Yeah, it's pretty much I think it's near like M38 or something like that. It's in that. Hold on 1 second. I have the image of it in the wide field. So
Yeah.
so this is wide field. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so this is it here. There's the kind of the eyes. It's upside down or in the other image. And this is like that little tail part. So this is M38 here. So this is a wide field image that I had taken before, and then I was curious to look deeper into that. So I've been using the 9¼ to kind of get deeper in. So you can see that's this region here.
Oh yeah, you can see the tail and stuff.
Let me get rid of this.
Yeah, it's flipped upside down. Yep.
Yeah, it's flipped over. But I thought it was kind of, and this is also broadband. The other one was shot with dual band, with dual narrowband filters. This is shot broadband with that light pollution suppression filter, which basically has some cuts where, like sodium vapor, mercury lights, most lights that are not used anymore, which is I think why they're changing some of these filter characteristics to handle LED lighting and things like that. So that's that. This is the fish head. So this is at the end of the Heart Nebula. So if you look at the Heart Nebula.
Oh yeah, there it is.
It's that region there. And last time I did the Heart of the Heart, I did this region, which is because this is what's kind of lighting it up. This is really a separate nebula from the Heart, even though it's kind of hanging off the end of it. So that's called the Fish Head Nebula.
That's cool.
Which is that. And then this is an NGC object here, like 896 or something like that.
That's cool.
And then this is the Heart of the Rosette.
Yeah.
So this is, oh no, I'm sorry. This is the Heart of the Soul, not the Heart of the Rosette.
Okay.
This is the Heart of the Soul, the Soul Nebula. So if you look at the Soul Nebula, it's this open cluster here. It's that region there. That's what this is, slightly different orientation.
The wide field version looks like 3D. It looks really cool.
This one?
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's kind of creepy though. It looks like a baby.
Yeah, that's why I tilted it. I told you guys before. That's why I tilted it up. I had a framing that it was like flat on its back, and it kind of. My daughter was going through fertility stuff. I thought it just looks too much like a you know,
Yeah.
kind of like
Right.
a dead embryo. So
Yeah.
I wound up tilting up. I rotated the whole optical tube in the mount
Oh wow.
so that I didn't have to do new flats. But another area I want to shoot is this area here, close up, and I also want to shoot this area here. This looks like it's got some really, really kind of cool stuff in it. The part of the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, the baby's mouth.
So, yeah, so far
Baby's
I've only
mouth.
done the kind of the lower abdomen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here we
Who
go.
put that baby up there?
And then I decided to do another
That's a good one. I like it.
M51. I had the narrow field set up and it was above the trees. It's a little hard this time of year. You got to wait till real late at night. So I just kind of stuck it on this and went to bed. So this is the deepest I've ever shot M51. This is 4 hours and 40 minutes from my backyard. So it's not a dark sky site.
It came out nice.
Thank you. But
That's
what
cool.
I particularly like are these kind of things. There's like, these are, one is an NGC object, the other is one of the PG, but it looks like they're almost like two interacting galaxies or something like that.
Yeah.
And then even some of these little guys, I like seeing some of the detail in these tiny galaxies.
That one is like 600 million light years away.
Oh man. So that's and I actually wound up cropping it a little more like this. I like that I was able to get some of this wispy stuff. But you can see some sky glow that wasn't totally neutralized from the, doing the background neutralization. Because this is stretched pretty far to get that background stuff. This is the heart of the rosette. This is again, I kind of I set it up, I went to bed.
Oh, wow.
At this point, I had shot some of the other objects.
That's nice detail in there.
The set. Thank you. Yeah, and this, I always liked this thing in there.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's what I'm looking at. Really neat.
But these are mainly to get the open clusters, because this is the open cluster NGC 2244.
Mm-hmm.
So the rosette is often called that, but it's because this is the thing lighting it up. So this is the source of its energy, or the primary source of energy. So that's why I'm calling these, this is the heart of the rosette, because this is the thing that's giving it life.
That's what you would visually see, Stan. Just those stars,
right?
Visually,
right.
That's correct. Yeah.
And this is these are all 2-minute subs with the light pollution filter. This is 4 hours and 52 minutes. So it definitely breaks out of the EAA realm.
Yeah,
that definitely does.
It's not real long sub length.
It gets more of the blues with this noise pollution filter or light pollution filter.
It does, and it's interesting too, because it's consistent, but then it makes sense that it wouldn't match the dual band, right? The dual band's primarily either red or white, basically, right? From the emission stuff or from the reflection stuff. So this is color calibrated, and then I'm not playing around. I don't do any color shifting. I do a slight addition of the luminance layer. So I actually extract the luminance layer, then I recombine it with the RGB, just the luminance layer. And that gives you a little deeper saturation without, hitting, like calling up a color saturation dialog or something like that. I think that looks a little more natural, at least to my eye. Not that you can see these colors, but just in terms of not tweaking it too far.
Nice. I really like the color.
And then this was the supernova. I know a bunch of people shot that. So this is that SN 2024 GY supernova in the NGC 4216.
Was that this past week then, Gary?
Yeah. These are all.
Yeah, I was wondering how bright it still was.
Yeah, it's still noticeably. I mean, it almost outshines the galaxy, right? It's really. In fact, it's one of the first things you see when I'm looking at the subs. I like that there's all this other stuff in here. I love these little.
Yeah, that's a busy area. You're almost in the Como Virgo group. You just don't think you're on the edge, and it's And then this I
posted on Astrobin. In fact, everything except for the Rosette and M51 are on Astrobin. So this is that. It's basically interacting galaxies, and this one's known as the cocoon because it kind of has a shape of a chrysalis hanging. This kind of like point here where it would attach and then hang. But this was kind of cool. This is 4 hours and 52 minutes again. These are tiny objects, and this is going fairly deep. But again, from my backyard. So this is not a pristine site. My SQM readings are 18.4, 18.8 on a good night, 19 on a super good night, but that doesn't really happen. And then I'm going to show these in the reverse order. So I took some data from Blue Mountain as a primer for galaxy season. Now this particular cluster is actually up in September, October. This is called the Perseus cluster. This is called a Perseus A. So if you zoom in on this, a lot of what's in here are galaxies. They're not stars.
Yeah.
Is this the C9, Gary?
What's that?
What scope do you use?
This is the wide field scope. So this is the
okay.
This is shot using the TV85.
Okay.
Everything else up to this point was the C9.25 at the beginning of this month. This I went back to some old data since I've gotten kind of better at processing. Now that I know Pixel, like when I processed this originally, I think I knew PixInsight for like 2 weeks or something like that, and the stars were kind of fuzzy and the stuff like that. Now that I know PixInsight better, I went back with my current workflow and reprocessed this. And then if you look at just the NGC objects, this is the list of NGC objects in this field of view. This is about 3.5 by 2.5 degree field of view. And then if you go to include the PGC objects,
it's lousy with them.
They're just all over the place. And if you zoom in, except for 1 or 2 exceptions, they're there. They're little galaxies and stuff, like all over the place.
Even there.
So it just blows my mind when I look at stuff like this. It literally, you just can't comprehend. This is a tiny field of view, and it's like mostly galaxies.
Whose job was it to catalog all this?
I know. Thank
Herschel.
Yeah, well, I mean, he did a lot, right? He did
a lot.
But now with the robotic, telescopes and stuff, they're the ones doing all these, the sky survey stuff. And I think that's it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Herschel made Carolyn do everything, didn't he?
Yeah, really. He just pretty much yelled out. He would stay at the eyepiece and just yell back, and
nice.
Yeah, that's how he found what the coordinate was in right ascension, right? She had the clock in there with the candle. She could write it down. He just kept looking. I can't imagine how small of a field of view he must have had, really, because
that was with the 40
his eyepieces were not, Neglers or anything. They were,
And little mirrors.
Didn't he have that 40-inch? He had that big metal, the big mirror.
Yeah, he didn't do much with that. They still have they got the mirror at the Science Institute in London. They got the bottom barrel of that is in the is right outside of Greenwich. It's outside the building. They had the bottom piece there, but but he didn't use the 40 very much. It wasn't that successful. He used a 20 or 24-inch a lot.
Okay.
But he used a what do you call it? It's funny. He used to call it. He used his 7-foot telescope, which really is just the focal length, not the diameter of the mirror. His 7-foot telescope was like a 6-point-something inch mirror, and this mirror is funny. He had several 7-foot telescopes, shall we say, mirrors, because they're all the speculum metal mirrors, made of that. Yeah. Like it's tin and nickel or something, and tin or something. Yeah. And he'd polish them, but they would tarnish so quickly that instead of like calling it a night or polishing and then waiting, polish for a couple of days and lose some observing, he had three or four of those mirrors, right? Just all done the same focal length. He just swap them out when it started getting duller, and the daytime he'd work on it, to get it back in there. And he just kept revolving the mirrors.
Wow.
But he was really good. I mean, it's incredible as far as the quality of his telescopes. They were considered the highest in Europe at the time as far as like accuracy.
Wow.
And I'm not sure how he tested them besides star test them, because I don't know if he focal tested them or did that, or
I don't know.
I
That'd be
think of the
tough.
time frame.
Where
Focal
would you get
doing his
where would
stuff
you
in
get-
late 17. So he might have had a focal test. I don't remember him saying that or hearing about that.
You'd have to have a really stable environment to use that, though, for something with that.
Yeah. And I don't picture England as being a terribly stable environment, in
Especially
England,
then, that was during the industrial age. So
he was in Bath, which is kind of west of maybe slightly north and west of London.
Okay. That would
But
help.
Anyway.
Well, thanks for that, Gary.
You're welcome.
that's
Thank
amazing.
you.
All right, we're technically at time.
All right, guys.
So,
So, hey, here's a question for everybody. In September, we're going to have our regular DVA meeting at Fort Washington.
Yes.
And it's going to be 1 week before the normal meeting is scheduled. Jan wanted to know if we wanted to keep this meeting the same Wednesday, or do we want to go back and do it 2 Wednesdays prior to that meeting? It means that it'll be the first quarter.
Exactly, first quarter.
Yeah. So, I mean, is that going
That's
to be?
not too bad.
Do you guys want to switch it? Do you want to keep it?
It could be the Wednesday after. It's basically a full moon.
Yeah, the
That's
Wednesday
even
afterwards. That's
less desirable. That's
yeah,
probably a good day to
that's
have
what
it.
we would normally have it. I don't see a reason to switch, unless you guys want to. But we need to touch base with her.
Since it's first quarter, most people, if they've gone to a dark sky site, are probably coming back because it's
Yeah, I would
time.
leave it the way it
It's
is.
first quarter.
But for me, if it's first quarter, I mean, I have my setup in the backyard, so if it's clear out, when the moon's gone, I'll just open the roof. But
Yeah, I would leave it more towards the full moon.
yeah, all right.
That is the
do
18th, I think. Yeah, the 18th is 1 day past full, so that's
All right. So there's no reason to switch the meeting then.
I don't think so. I don't think it needs to track when we go to the when we do the thing at Fort Washington.
Yeah. Okay.
We can break the rule on that one.
Breaking the law.
Yeah, that's
Right,
technically not.
real quick question. Gary, are you gonna be at the meeting tomorrow? I mean Friday.
Friday. Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna be there, right, John? Okay. 'Cause
I'm
we
coming
really
Friday.
should touch base on the clinic for
Yeah.
the following Saturday.
Yeah. That sounds good. Yeah, I had a scare. I don't want to. I know we're running late, but I had a scare the other day that's the other reason why I pulled the TV85 out. I have one of those. I have 2 of those 365/7 covers that I trust. I mean, I've had them for 10, 15 years, and I've trusted them. Well, I was using 9 1/4, and then I thought, oh, let me try this other filter in the TV85. So I pull my 365/7 cover, and there's like water dripping out of it.
Oh, geez.
This was after all the rain and the snow.
Oh, man.
And I thought, I can't believe this thing leaked. And then I thought, it might not be leaking. It might just be condensation, because I put a cover that was really too big for that rig. That AM5 has a really short tripod, and it was down to the ground, and then it got snowed on.
So you trapped it.
It trapped all the moisture.
Yeah.
And then with the freeze thaw cycle,
Oh no.
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, the scope, like everything was dripping. The ASI air, the camera,
Ah.
Yeah,
like
I bet.
everything was dripping. And I got it. I took it in, And I'm setting up the 9 1/4. I mean, I had just set up the not set up, just started imaging with that. And I have like my mud boots on, so I'm like yelling into Julia, can you take this? And I'm like handing her piece by piece of this. And I said, grab some towels, and she's throwing towels on it. And then
we have an emergency here.
yeah, and it was cold outside, so as soon as I bring it in, it starts condensing because it's really warm inside, so it's getting worse. I tell you, I thought if everything's trashed, I'm going to be so pissed. I let everything dry for about 3-4 days because the worst thing with electronics,
turn on when it's wet.
Turn it on when it's wet.
Yeah.
Water generally will not hurt electronics as long as it's de-energized.
Right.
So I let it sit for like 3-4 days and very gingerly powered up one piece at a time. Everything worked fine.
Good.
The brass tube on my TV85 is very tarnished, and it almost looked like outside with the red light and the water. It looked like there was like mold growing on it. It wasn't mold. It was tarnished on the
terrifying sight.
That's horrible.
I tell you, my heart was just like it just sank.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's the reason for that story is that's what I plan to bring as my small setup, because we had talked about having something there like what Scott did last year.
Yeah.
To kind of show and tell. So
Do you want me to bring mine?
I'll bring that setup.
Do you want me to bring mine? I mean, I think I'm available that weekend if you want.
I think we're fine. I mean, you're certainly welcome to come. I think we're fine though, but if you want to, you're certainly welcome to.
We definitely want to have at least one of those setups there so everybody can see it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was going to bring what I brought to Fort Washington last September. That same rig.
Yeah. You going to be there tomorrow night then, Scott, you said?
Friday night.
Friday night. Keep saying tomorrow night. Well, I'm going to be there tomorrow night too. I'm going to get there early.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll go over what we're going to do here. I talked briefly with Joe. He's away. He's going up to Rhode Island for a couple of days, so he won't be around at the meeting. But we'll see how the poll was working out. I tried to look at who was signed up for what, and I got into it before, but I was getting an error trying to run the report to see what people had how answered the questionnaire. So I'll talk to Jan about that, get that nailed down. But
yeah, I didn't see that.
And there's usually a last minute sign up, push kind of a thing. And she'll talk about that on Friday versus tomorrow. And but when we can emphasize whatever, but we can just go over who's going to cover what, make sure we got our stuff together.
Yeah, and you still.
Anything we need to share, I'll put up on
that
the
same deck.
What's this?
You're going to use the same slide deck from last year?
Well, I was going to use the same one for solar system. The one that I used last year, because when you were out, Joe and I kind of handled the other stuff. I did fixed tripod. He did the tracker. I still have that deck if you still have it. If not, I could put it on the server. And I was thinking that, I don't know, you or Joe or somebody's probably going to handle that.
Okay.
Maybe. I know you're going to handle the dark sky too, but we can. That's what I want to go over who's going to handle what, basically.
Okay, that sounds good.
And what deck we're going to use.
Sounds good.
Okay. Sounds good, guys.
Great. I'll see you on Friday.
Seeing everybody.
Yeah, good seeing everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Night. Have a good night.
Take care.
Photons.